Hey folks, Jackdaw here with a massive Dragon Age Dreadwolf news update regarding a huge development milestone announced very recently by BioWare's general manager on the BioWare blog. In addition, a brand new Dragon Age Dark Horse comic series was recently announced, coming in early 2023 with many details recently unveiled. These are very thrilling updates that we're going over today, so let's just jump straight into these very exciting stories, like my megalomaniac desire to exterminate all of the nugs in the hinterlands. First up, the Dragon Age team is incredibly excited to announce a huge step forward in the development of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. So unveiled on Wednesday, October 26th, General Manager Gary McKay published a brand new BioWare blog. He wrote as follows: a new milestone for Dragon Age Dreadwolf, moving closer and closer to completion. Quote, in my last blog back in February, I talked about the next Dragon Age game entering the production phase. Well, we've come a very long way since then. The team is incredibly happy to announce a huge step forward in the development of the game you now know as Dragon Age Dreadwolf. We have just completed our alpha milestone. Up to this point, we've been working hard on the various parts of the game, but it's not until the alpha milestone that a game all comes together. Now, for the first time, we can experience the entire game from the opening scenes of the first mission to the very end. We can see, hear, feel, and play everything as a cohesive experience. Now what? Of course, the game is not finished by any means, but alpha is one of the most important game development milestones for a number of reasons. First and foremost, we can now turn our sights towards bringing the visual fidelity to its final form and iterating on gameplay features. The big question now is, where do we focus our efforts? To answer that, we solicit feedback from a number of sources, including our community council members, who each have unique perspectives and experiences, our quality verification team, and extensive internal playtesting. Gathering feedback from multiple sources gives us the greatest insight on where we need to spend time improving the experience. Additionally, we can now evaluate the game's pacing, how relationships evolve over time, and the player's progression, as well as the narrative cohesion, essentially how the story comes together. We can take the story we've written and see if we're expressing it well through the characters, dialogue, cinematics, and ultimately the player's journey. Now that we have the ability to do a complete playthrough, we can iterate and polish on the things that matter mostly to our fans. Hitting alpha was the culmination of so much effort from the entire team, and we used that milestone as an opportunity to come together and celebrate. We had a hybrid style event with people on site while others joining remotely, and the team showcased their work to everyone at BioWare. We even took some time to do something fun and non-work related, a virtual escape room where we had to work together to help someone on camera find their way out. It was a really great time, and no matter where our devs are, it's important to share those types of moments together. Start to finish. Now that we're finally able to experience the entire game, for me, my favourite part is the characters, whether followers, allies, or villains. They're woven into the game in ways that take a concept that's always been a part of the Dragon Age DNA, stories about people, and push it further than ever before. The characters help contextualize the world and the stakes, and I can't wait until we're able to start really discussing them in depth. It's also exciting to finally be able to bring our fans to parts of the world that we've previously hinted at, but never been able to fully explore, like the city of Manrathas, the capital of the Tevinter Imperium. We've talked about Manrathas in previous games, and now you'll finally be able to visit. It's a city built on and fueled by magic, and the ways in which that has come through in its visual identity and what that looks like in comparison to previous cities we've visited in Dragon Age are very spectacular. As I mentioned earlier, the alpha milestone is an extremely important one for us, but there's more work to be done. We also want to continue being transparent with you, our community, and keep you up to date on what we're crafting. Hopefully, you've been enjoying our development updates on Dreadwolf this year, as we'll be looking forward to sharing more in the future. In closing, of course, Dreadwolf isn't the only thing happening here at BioWare. We have a team hard at work envisioning what the future holds for a single-player Mass Effect game, and we look forward to celebrating our community on N7 Day next month. The SWTOR team also continues to work on their next update, so keep an eye out on SWTOR.com and their social media accounts for any and all details on the coming game update. It's an incredible time at BioWare. We have so many cool things to show you in the future. Until then, thank you for being part of our community. We couldn't do this without you. Oh my goodness, what a freaking very exciting blog. Let's break this all down and explain what it all means point by point. So first of all, alpha. So I know I've talked a lot about Dragon Age's production throughout my time on this channel, so I apologize if I'm going over information once more, but just so we all have a clear picture. Back in 2021, Dragon Age producer Celia Costa revealed the crash course of a typical timeline of a BioWare game's development development cycle. And at the time, he then referred that to Dragon Age Dreadwolf's current production. So the first stage of Dragon Age Dreadwolf's development has been pre-production, and pre-production within BioWare has a size of 5 to 30 to 60 people. And in this early stage, core concepts, prototypes, and system developments are heavily iterated on. BioWare spends the majority of the time developing tools and ensuring that they can focus on the game's key features, as well as conducting market research. Now the stage after pre-production is production, the stage that Dragon Age Dreadwolf has just left. We know that the Dragon Age team ended pre-production and started full production in 2020 at the start of the pandemic. In the production stage, this is where the bulk of development and content happens. The majority of the game systems are in place, and some new ones are created with the implementation of newer features. The team also starts growing tremendously bigger as the entire development progresses. Now, after the production stages, the game goes on to its alpha stage, which has just happened for Dreadwolf. Now, within alpha, as Gary has already explored, the game systems should all be running and working, and the game's features should be fully implemented. Now, technical tests are all ran and assessed, and lots of QA players test and play the game fully. How exciting that Dragon Age Dreadwolf is in this current state. But alpha is not the final stage. After alpha, the game will enter its beta stage. Now at this point, the game should have its entire content added, and the team will then focus on balancing the game. More tests will be run in order to further test that balance, and final tweaks are then made. After beta, then we are on to our launch stage, where the team creates something known as the War Room, and everyone in every department will come together once a day to the meeting room, where every single existing issue is brought up. Then those issues are prioritized on what needs to be done depending on the importance leading up to that inevitable launch day. And I may as well put this one in there just for the sake of it, but after launch and after the game is shipped, the focus is on patching the game with day 0 patches, more tweaks and fixes to follow, and then we have the post-launch content with the creation of DLC. Now to bring this back and have a look holistically, Dragon Age is currently in its alpha phase. The bulk of the work is essentially done. Now it's all down to the fine-tuning, balancing and tweaking. Apparently Dragon Age Inquisition released 6 months after starting its alpha phase. Now I don't believe that will happen with Dragon Age Dreadwolf, because we want the team to spend as much time as possible tweaking and fine-tuning the game. Still, it is a very good indicator to how well development is going and how soon we can expect to play Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I would say sticking to that initial 2023 release window that has been heavily rumoured is a pretty good bet. Okay, so now on to the next point. We're going to friggin' Minrathous, the capital city of Tevinter. Yes, we kind of already knew this given the 2020 Game Awards trailer, the Tevinter Witch concept art, and Tevinter Night, so its stories explored in the capital city of Tevinter. But even so, just to hear Gary McKay say that we are going to explore the city of Minrathous, it's so freaking exciting, and how they have built it particularly to have its own visual identity. Next point, it's just crazy to hear that Dragon Age Dreadwolf is fully playable right now. Like, BioWare, do you need another QA tester? Sign me right up. I don't know anything about QA or QV, but I'd certainly be willing to give Dragon Age Dreadwolf an early test run if you need someone to do that. Given that the game is fully playable, it's in its alpha stage, it's got what, 2 more stages to go, and the final stage is the launch stage. Are we gonna see something at the Game Awards very soon? Most likely, I would say at this point. Apparently Mark Dara has just made a video and he has said he feels like we could see something at the Game Awards this year. Of course, Mark doesn't work for BioWare anymore. He is just speculating as I am. In any regard, I am making on a separate video on this topic, just solely on are we going to see Dragon Age Dreadwolf at the Game Awards this year. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I do believe we will see something given the current stage of development. Production is done. We're on to alpha. It's now time to start marketing this game, building up some hype and anticipation while also revealing more info, you know? Let's move on and talk about this brand new Dragon Age comic. So just last week, a new Dragon Age comic was posted on the Dark Horse website. A huge shout out to my Twitter mutual and BioWare social network member @Hunger, who found this new comic listing and posted it on Twitter. As followed, the Dark Horse listing says, Dragon Age The Missing, #1, a new story leading directly into BioWare's upcoming game, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Varric Tefris and Lace Harding descend into the abandoned deep roads beneath Moranis Pell in pursuit of a former friend, but the corruption of the Blight has infected the walls and the threat of Darkspawn looms heavy in the air. Friggin' 2 of my favourite dwarves, Deep Roads, Darkspawn and Intervinter, sign me the frig up. I am so freaking excited. Also the fact that this is a prequel to Dragon Age Dreadwolf, oh oh my maker. Now, first of all, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'm wondering straight up, who is this former friend? Is it Solas, because we know Solas was a former friend of the entire Inquisition, or is it somebody else? When they mention former friend and Lace and Varric, I kind of feel like it can't just be Varric's friend, because if it was just Varric's friend, we could build a massive list from Anders to Isabella to Sebastian to the real Bianca and so on. However, the fact that it's referring to Lace and Varric, I'm going to assume it's going to be a friend of the Inquisition. And so who could that be? Well, it could be any party member in Inquisition, from Blackwall to Serra, whoever. It could also be the hero of Ferelden. As we know, they have gone searching for a cure for the calling. However, I think that this is probably Volta, somebody who I would love to see return, and I made a mention of that in my 10 characters that I would love to see return video. From a narrative point of view, there is so much story to be told with Volta and what happened at the end of the Descent DLC. Also, more freaking dwarf content with a gigantic mystery yet to be involved that I think would be fantastic if explored in this comic. Who knows though, again, it could be anybody else who was related to Varric or Lace Harding. Now, something that is quite different this time around is who is working on this comic. The main writer is George Mann, the artist is Kieran McGowan, the colorist is the same as the previous comics, Mike Atee, the cover art is by Matt Taylor. Now, the first issue of The Missing comes out January 25th, 2023, and there are 4 issues of this comic. We assume that the comics will come out monthly following that release, so that would be around January 25th, February 25th, March 25th, and April 25th, giving us 4 months of brand new Dragon Age content in 2023, already off to a fantastic start. Now, apparently the first issue is 32 pages long, and it will be priced at $3.99. Beautiful front cover with Varric holding Bianca with a massive ogre behind them, and an interesting, sumptuous color palette. Now, while I'm incredibly excited for this comic and I am so eager to read it, I do need to address the elephant in the room, that being what happened to Nunzio de Philippus and Christina Weir's comic collection. What about Vaya, Fenris, Francesca, and Autumn, who are all hoping a little bit for a conclusion to that story via a new comic written by the pair, tying up a few loose ends and adding more narrative since Dark Fortress's narrative. Now, I get it, Dark Fortress was created as an epilogue to that story that has been set up since Knight Errant. However, there was still room for further stories as confirmed by Nunzio and Christina when I interviewed them last year. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out the interview for yourself. Now, they did say that BioWare and Dark Horse have signed off of Dark Fortress being the final comic. However, they were very eager, and as fans really wanted to continue their own universe with new stories to tell about Vaya. However, it does seem at the moment that unless BioWare are going to pull the wool from our eyes and announce even more comics in the coming months, and that Nunzio and Christina are actually working on even more comics right now and we just don't know about it, it would most likely seem that we may not be getting those stories as comics at the moment, which is a massive shame because I know how passionate and excited Nunzio and Christina were for that to happen. Of course, my pure speculation doesn't mean that the pair aren't working on a new Dragon Age comic, or that Vaya's story isn't going to be concluded in a video game. We have no clue what BioWare has in store for us, if that's continuing their story in comics or if it's actually introducing them in the game themselves. We don't know. I just hope that us comic fans and even Nunzio and Christina themselves will be rewarded for investing time into these extended characters, hopefully in the next game. In any regard, I've absolutely loved the story that has been told with Nunzio and Christina and the characters that they did create, and I'm incredibly excited for more Varric and Lace Harding content coming, and also paving the way for Dreadwolf's story. Now, it remains to be seen how much it will tie into Dreadwolf's story. With very pivotal characters like Varric and Harding, I feel like it may actually have somewhat of a drastic impact, but with it being extended material, you never know how much it's truly going to connect to the game. Even so, I can't wait until January. We're going to have a very thrilling couple of months ahead of us. I literally just tweeted about this, but we've got N7 Day, Dragon Age Day, the Game Awards 2022, and Dragon Age Absolution on the imminent horizon of 2022, and then starting 2023, we're gonna have this brand new comic, and potentially Dragon Age Dreadwolf is coming in 2023. It's so freaking exciting to be a Dragon Age and BioWare fan right now. But hey folks, let me know all of your thoughts on Dragon Age Dreadwolf entering its alpha stage, the second to last stage of development. It's been a long journey, but it feels like we're actually almost at the end of it, and we're so close to seeing a lot more on this game very, very soon. So I want to know everything you're thinking. But of course, until we hear more about Dragon Age Dreadwolf and whatever's going on in the Dragon Age universe, you're already in the right place. I've been Jackdaw, and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.